welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to show you what we're going to go over today, and we're going to basically dive right in. So there's a lot of confusions on these Coyotes on the front timing cover, the F150 versus the Mustang. The alternator, the differences, just everything, man. When you go to order it, you know, everybody says all kinds of things are different. So I'm not going to dive into all the differences. I'm going to cover one thing since I have the parts in front of me, and we're going to see if this works because I don't know if it's going to work. So basically what we got is the motor is a 2013 F150 motor. Now it has been built by TKM. It's sleeved, it's top fuel hoop. The water jackets were welded solid and then drilled for cylinder wall supports. It's got custom L&M cams, lockout plates, the whole 9 yards. So the thing's built. It has nothing left of the F-150 besides basically the block and the crank. That's it. Everything else, there's nothing there. The timing cover was changed out to a Mustang timing cover. The F-150 does have some differences. Basically, it's a boss on it where it's already tapped for a pulley. I'll flip you around and show you. There is one difference. Basically, there's an extra bolt hole. Okay, it's bossed for a piece, but I can't remember if it was down there or here. I really feel like it's here. I feel like the F-150 one is just smooth, but I could be completely wrong. That's the only difference in the cover. Well, I went ahead and ordered the Mustang cover on it. So that's it. All the research that you do will tell you that the only difference is that. So what I have done is this bracket was a good deal. It's a billet aluminum engraved bracket. You know, it's got all the fancy designs on it, and I purchased it for a F-150. The listing said this fits an F-150 timing cover. Okay, from all my research, I know that the only difference is that one piece. That's the only difference. I bought this bracket because it was a really good deal, and I was like, you know, it should work. So this alternator is F-150 alternator. The timing cover is Mustang, and the bracket is supposed to be for an F-150 timing cover is what they say. I think that the listing said that it's for the F-150 timing cover because, you know, it's for the F-150 alternator, obviously F-150 everything. But I figured that, hey, since it's just the boss hole that's, you know, different for the pulley, that maybe it'll work. So I took a chance on it. So we were hitting, and I'm going to show you whenever we take this apart, but we were hitting up here. So I grinded some off the alternator up here for clearance. And then if you come underneath here, we are actually hitting on the pulley also. So I'm hitting right here on the pulley, on the alternator. And it's just mock-up right now. You can see also up in here, the pulley is really close. It's not touching, but it's really close to another piece of the timing cover that's right there. So everybody says that the Mustang alternator is smaller. So we're about to get this F-150 alternator out of here and go over what I just got in the mail. So the Mustang alternators are like $200 and some, and I was like, no way am I paying that much for an alternator. The thing does look slightly different, but we are going to get the F-150 alternator out of the car and put it up here on the bench and see if we can see some differences, and then we are going to attempt to install the Mustang alternator on the Mustang timing cover with the F-150 bracket and see what results we get. I'm praying that that bracket works because I really don't want to spend money for another bracket. And honestly, if that bracket does not work, then I'm pretty much at the point where I'm probably not going to spend the money on another one, and I might just fabricate my own bracket because I'm getting pretty sick of this, to tell you the truth. So we're not even using this one right now because I don't have no AC or no power steering. So I'm trying to make it work off of this one because that way I can use the factory tensioner. But if this don't work, then we'll probably be fabbing something to move it out to this because I'm really tired of spending money on stupid stuff like this. So let's get it out of the car and see what we got. All right, so on the first comparison, we can see that there is a difference in pulleys. So this pulley is for the F-150. This is for the Mustang. So the pulley for the F-150 is going to be 2 3/8, and the pulley for the Mustang is going to be the same 2 3/8 looks like, but for some reason this doesn't have all of that opening, whereas this one's opened up and that one's not. This was actually allowing me more clearance on the cover, because where it was at, it was sitting right here up against this, but that was sitting up against that and it wasn't touching or anything, but it was clear. Besides that, let's see here, your overall width is approximately 6.25, 6 1/8, depending on what you're looking at. And on the F-150, you are also 6 1/4 heavy. So maybe 6 3/8. So it really looks close to the same on that. Let's see here, looking down at it. Looks pretty close to the same like that too. I mean, there's some minor differences, but nothing I'm seeing that stands out at me. You can see on mine where I grinded down right here. So I got it more closer to flush with the housing, where on this one it actually is already grinded down. So this one's already grinded down. It has more out of it than this. This one has a lot more meat to it right here in this area than this has. You can see that that is a lot less meat right there than right there, okay? So you do see that right out the gate, that is a little closer. So maybe that's clearance stuff, but that was hitting, but not, I don't think that my grinding it, I think, is the same as that. So besides that, I'm not seeing like any major differences, sadly. And I was hoping that I was going to see some huge difference, but I'm not. The plugs are both 3 prongs, so they both look the same. They really do. They look really, really close to the same. The case, you can tell, is a little different. So it's got like these legs, whereas the F-150 one is round, and it does not, you know. But overall, I just don't see this being more of a clearance than this. But maybe it's clocked a little difference. Who knows? We're about to put it in and see what we got. There's the bracket when it's off. That's how the bracket looks. So it's a pretty nice bracket. Maybe it'll be for sale on the eBay store if it don't fit, but let's see. All right, so I can go ahead and tell you that this is also not right. Basically, it's still hitting in the exact same spot. It's only worse this time because of how it's not grooved. So you can see it's hitting in that location. Yeah, that's still not right. It's like it needs to be closer. And we might just end up having to take this timing cover and grind the face of it off right there for clearance. So we are clearing the tensioner now, but I don't think that, let's see here. I don't think that we're gonna clear it once we put this in. So I think once this alternator goes in, that we're gonna hit that tensioner again. And as you can see from underneath here, when we're in a line, you know, if we get in a line with this, you can see how that one's close, but it's still off. So I don't know, maybe it would be extremely close if that piece was gone. And it's not a big deal to grind the timing cover off right there. You know, I don't care about the paint or nothing. I don't care about grinding it. I'm just curious if that's gonna fix the problem. So that's what we've done, is we have took the front where that nub was at, and we have grinded that off. So I've grinded that where it's pretty smooth with the plate. Would definitely help if you did this before. You can see all the dust if you did this before you finished your engine, because now obviously I have a grinded timing cover that it's not gonna get painted, but alternator should cover it up. So that's grinded smooth. That's the nub you need to grind off. We're gonna put everything back together. All right, so there we go. We've got the alternator in. This is the Mustang Alternator. So I am pretty confident that there's not a big difference in it. I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all, I didn't try the truck alternator with, you know, the new with grinding the valve cover, but let's see here what I was gonna say. If you take the truck alternator and you grind it right here where I've grinded it at, I have a gut feeling that it will work from everything that I've seen, you know, on this. So you just got to get some of this meat down. I think that's the reason why they say it won't clear, because the pulleys literally pretty much look identical, besides the Mustang one has something inside of it. So if you look underneath here, the alternator actually hits right up inside there, okay? It's actually touching the timing chain cover. When I tighten this down, I believe it does have a little bit of pressure on it. Not too much. I don't believe it has too much when I'm worried about the timing chain cover. I feel like if anything was to crack, that it would be the alternator and not the timing chain. So the timing chain cover, I'm sorry. So everything's in line, you know, your pulley down there, your tensioner, and your alternator. So everything's in line now, looks good. I'm happy with it. The only thing I got left to do is figure out the belt. I don't know if I'm going to include it in the video, but I will probably definitely, if I don't videotape it, I will probably definitely put it in the description, the part number or the length or whatever. Basically, all I'm going to do, so you know how to do it, is your tensioner right here, it's swung all the way up because obviously there's no belt on it. So I'm going to wrap a string or tape around the alternator pulley, down around that pulley, back up around this pulley, you know, and connect it back to itself. That's going to tell you the largest diameter belt you could run that will not work, because obviously you need this down. So what you want to do is take that string to the part store, find one a little bit shorter. That way you had to swing this down to get the belt on. So it's just going to be fit. I'll make sure that even if I don't videotape that, because it just depends on the length of this video and when I put it out, that it's in the description for y'all, the one I used, because all I'm using on this motor is an alternator, nothing else. So there's nothing else on the front. So that's going to be it on the alternator. The bracket went okay. One other thing is if you have motor plates. So I have motor plates that I built. So let me show you a good shot in case you're looking at this and, you know, wanting to know about the motor plates, because I remember when I built mine, there's like no information. So there's the one motor plate on the passenger side. It's tied into the frame rail and tied into there. And then you can see where the bolt of the alternator goes on. And then you can't really see the motor plate on that side. But I do have other videos where you can see it if you want to look back at some of my other videos where the front end's more stripped off. But that's what this side looks like. Let me see. Yeah, that's what this side looks like. So your bolt right here, when you're running a motor plate, this bolt right here, of course, has to be a different bolt and a different sleeve and everything than what they send you. If you're not running motor plates, then you'll be perfectly fine. You'll use this one. If you're not running a motor plate, this goes into timing chain cover, and then this bolts into, you know, your bracket, which is really nice. I wish I could use this, because then it would allow you to take the bracket on and off without having to go through the motor plate. Because for me, it takes a little bit of alignment, you know, to get that where that will go through correctly. Normally I have to jack up on the motor just a little bit and loosen the bottom one for a tiny bit of wiggle room to get all the bolts to line up. But yeah, so anytime I want to take it off now, I have to take this bolt all the way out because it goes into the timing chain cover. And then these bolts just come out of these pieces, because these pieces thread into the block itself. But then these bolts are like this long, and they're tapped into each of these. So that's the only thing that I wish was different. And I have a local machine shop that could machine this for me easily. So this honestly looks like a threaded rod, possibly in this end. And then this end's a bolt. I'm almost starting to wonder if this thing is threaded all the way through. If it is, then that actually might change my mind, and I might actually go back and use it. So it is not threaded all the way through, but it is threaded pretty deep. It's threaded, you kind of see the bottom right there. So it's decent. It's maybe 3/4 of an inch down. So, but it's not threaded all the way through. So maybe the other side's a threaded rod. I mean, it would have to be a threaded rod to get it in there. So I don't know. But anyway, what I did to figure out the thickness. So if this is what they want you to use, then this piece right here is going to be the distance between. Let me move this out of the way. Then this piece right here is going to be the distance between here and your timing chain cover. So all you would do is subtract the thickness of your motor plate. When you subtract the thickness of your motor plate, that's what your new spacer needs to be. And you could pretty much use anything. You know, I have a custom sleeve. This is another threaded piece, not the right size. These are some motor bolts that we had to order somewhere else for the Pro Charger side, but basically I had a local machine shop machine all of these standoffs, these custom standoffs for me. So because on this side there was a couple things different on the Pro Charger than from the factory. But yeah, that's it basically. It's, you know, not too expensive of a bracket. The only thing that, you know, like I have complaints about, or I wish, which is it's my problem 100%, is the bolt having to be all the way through it, and I can make changes if I wanted to. This right here, the bolt is on the inside. So I would never have to take this bracket off. I could change my alternator without taking the bracket off if I would have flipped that around, but I didn't realize it. So next time this comes off, what I'm gonna do is make sure to knock this bushing out. This is a nut, like a threaded insert that will knock out. I'm gonna make sure I knock this out, and then I'm gonna put the bolt in from this side, okay? And I'm gonna run it all the way through everything. I'll find some kind of bushing that fits in there, or I'll go get the machine shop, the machine one down, and then that way I have a nut on the outside. So, because this one's easy to get to on the bottom, because all it does, like that. Okay, so that one's easy to get to down there. But if this bolt ran, if there was a nut out here that I could turn, because the bolt runs that way, the head of the bolt's there, you know, the shank of the bolt's here, and the nut's here, but you can't turn the nut because it's built into the alternator. It's machined in right there on the end so that you don't have to hold it, because it's supposed to be the other way. But if I had an actual nut right here that I could turn with a spacer that would bring it out, or if I grinded this ear off right here that would lock it on, then that would allow me to change the alternator without taking the bracket off, because this would suck to have to take this bracket off on the side of the road or something like that. You know, these are easy, but like I said, that's the one that's a pain. So that's definitely going to get changed at some point. So if this thing ever comes off, I will be making sure that I cut this ear off, and I also will be clearancing the alternator right there, just a little bit more. I'll be grinding some off the case. So, and at some point, I'm sure for some reason this thing will have to come back off, you know, or if I just find the time to do it. But for right now, that's it. We're going to find the belt, and we're going to put the belt on and try to snake it in the backside, because it is going to be kind of tight right here to snake it around the timing cover. And you can see back there where I grinded when you're looking at it like this, but from the front of the motor, you don't really see it. So that ended up not being terrible, but I wish I would have known that somebody warned me up front. That's it. I think that's it. That's hopefully enough to help all you guys on the alternator thing. Now, I can go ahead and tell you something I have learned about the alternator. Is this plug right here is not needed. So your plug-in plug is not needed. If you put a wire to that, which that wire would go to your battery, then as soon as this alternator starts spinning, this alternator starts kicking out current, or at least the F150 did. I did not, you know, I just bought the Mustang one, but I imagine it's going to be the exact same. I told a local alternator shop that I read a lot of stuff on the internet about how this had to be, like, you know, figured out, or a couple people had all kinds of suggestions about this plug, and he was like, that's weird. He put it on his stand, the F150 one, and of course he had his testing light on that lug, and he grounded it out, of course. And as soon as he turned the machine on to start spinning the alternator, that lug was spitting out, I think it's 12, 14 volts, whatever it's supposed to spit out, without anything on this. So he said that this thing literally spits out voltage no matter what. So I don't know 100% what's going on, but I seen it with my own eyes that as soon as he put a belt on it and spun this, that stud was kicking out voltage. So if the Mustang one doesn't work whenever I go to fire the car up and it's not charging, then I will be taking it to him and figure out why the F150 one was kicking voltage out, but the Mustang one's not. But I got a feeling that the Mustang one will also kick out voltage. And if for some reason it don't, then he'll have to fix it. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. I think this video is gonna be, you know, a decent length. I'm not gonna drag it out, and I'll just make sure I put in the description once I get the belt. I'll make sure I go back and add it to the description, so anybody viewing this video in the future can you know what size of belt, you know, to get from the parts store. So like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, y'all.